All right, everybody. I don't know what the hell's going on. Oh, what the hell's going on here? Use keyframe. Fix it 4 seconds less. Currently, keyframes are not being set often enough, which can cause. Okay, I'm having some major tech difficulties with Streamlabs or StreamYard. Which one am I using? Streamlabs. So apparently, let's see. Is this even going here? It looks like it is. But I don't even know if the video's smooth. Everything about this is screwed up. And for some reason, Streamlabs resets every time I close it and open it. So I'm not even sure. Let's see. Let me check my FPS. Looks good. That looks good. Output. Anyway, I'm assuming you can see me and hear me, so, and it looks like you said you can, so we'll do what we can. Rumble's jacked. Something's wrong with Streamlabs, and I can't seem to get it to work on Rumble either. My multi-streaming capabilities seem to be lacking. So everyone's gonna have to watch a new video. Let me type over there. That. Let me put a link to over there for whoever's over there. Yeah, so I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm sure more than one person will be complaining about that today. So that's what's going to happen. You can't hear me. Stop asking. That's funny, Zombie Teddy. It is funny. I'm not kidding. Good morning. I've got a few things to talk about still because I'm annoyed. So let's get it started. Johnny, play the intro, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only P-Dog Knight.
So I'm having some technical difficulties today. Good morning, everybody. Stop the music. Yes. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Knight on the internet. And welcome back to the P-Dog Knight channel. No, I'm not hungover. No, I didn't do anything in a drunken thing because I didn't really. After I finished last night, I went straight to bed. It sounds like a sandwich, not a spacecraft. What does that mean? Oh. And breaking news, Boca Chica, Texas Starship orbital test likely next week. Sounds like a sandwich, not a spacecraft. Anyway, so no, Boomer Time not brought to you by America. Well, I haven't seen anything from American company yet. It's certainly possible. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Knight on the internet. And welcome back to the P-Dog Knight channel on April 5th of birthday week, 2023. I'm still counting it as birthday week. So just, don't be shy. I was going to talk about the news we're not talking about. There's a little bit out there that seems to be forgotten because the air taken up in the room by Donald Trump and Alvin Bragg. So we'll get into that shortly. Let's say hi to the chat real quick. Good morning. First in the chat, Avocado Stiabli gets the bell. Good morning, Dumbbeard. What's happening? My fellow Minnesotan. Simon Wolfwood's in the house. Lord Stanhope, TC. I said Avocado Stiabli. Tyler F. Hello. Rotten Corpse. Jimmy Das Hotep's in the house. Also, good morning, Zombie Teddy. Nice to have you back. Good morning. Also, Gunfox61, the fabulous administrator of our Discord server. You'll see the links pop up. Maybe. I don't know. Everything's screwed up on here. I have no idea what's going on. Good morning, Trippy Liberty, Shrapnel, Furry Kitten. And I think that's it. So now I got to go into my stream. Something's going wrong. Something's going on with Streamlabs. I have no idea what the hell is happening here. Okay, that says that's linked. But is it? Is it actually linked? I was just checking my CloudBot too. Doesn't look like it's functioning, but I returned it on. We'll see what happens there. Jacob, hello, son. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. How you doing? Yeah, I got your. I saw that you called earlier. I will talk to you today sometime. But yeah, this is. I'm so annoyed right now. This is the way it is. But some things will never change. See what I did there? For those of you who might know that song. Good morning also to Woodcutter. What's happening? Okay, let's get into the thing. Now, I appreciate the notifications. Looks like, oh wait, what happened here? Oh my God, everything's going wrong today. I had such a great day yesterday, and I did 2 streams, no glitches or anything whatsoever. And today it's just F.U. Marty Day, apparently, on technical things. And it's not even me. If it was me, I would own it. You know me. I have no problem boomer teching myself, making fun of myself for boomer tech, but this ain't it. This is not it, and it's really freaking annoying. So anyway, thank you to all of you who are attempting to tweet out the show. If you haven't done so already, it looks like TC, Jimmy Nas Hotep, a few people have. Thank you, I appreciate it. Well, the Rumble's one's not working though, unfortunately, and I don't think the link to the other one's working. So, if you want to delete those, this is the one that's happening and that's working now. The only one. Rumble's not working. YouTube is working. So you might, if you can tweet out this show, that'd be great. Let's see, what do you got here, T? I think you got the right one here, TC. I'm going to retweet you, because I'm not even going to tweet out this show. This is just going to be a truncated version of the Morning Night Live. Wait, what? Why are we mentioning pizza? You are annoyed. Is my pizza safe? Okay. That's just wrong. That's just wrong. Come on. All right. So, the reason I wanted to talk about things that are happening that maybe we haven't really paid attention to. You remember yesterday when we spent all our time talking about Alvin Bragg and the guy with the funny hair, that whole thing? It said, there are other things that are important, like there's an election in Wisconsin for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So, to see one of those short dresses. No, this Wisconsin Supreme Court. And there was another election that I didn't even realize that was happening yesterday, but the results are in today. And that was the new mayor of Chicago. The runoff election for the mayor of Chicago was yesterday. And they've crowned a new mayor, it's colloquially, of course. And that's the one I'm kind of interested in, because I didn't pay attention. Remember, Lori Lightfoot, no longer the mayor of Chicago. She did not even make it to the runoff. But then, apparently, her replacement may be even worse for Chi-Town. I'm just saying, why is this doing this? Everything's messed up. I hate that. So anyway, Chicago has a new mayor. Breaking: Chicago elects mayor, even more radical than Lori Lightfoot. Just when you thought you couldn't get any worse with Windy City, there is another election that will have residents blowing out for greener pastures. Brandon Johnson, a radical socialist candidate, defeated moderate Democrat Paul Vallas in the race to replace Chicago Mayor Beetlejuice lookalike Lori Lightfoot. Okay, that's not nice. Whoever wrote this article, Kyle. As noted by journalist Andy No, Johnson had called for removing law enforcement from society. Well, that's something they need to happen in Chicago. Wow. During the 2020 riots, he defended looters, saying they were lashing out against the racism. Here it is. This is Andy's tweet. Leftist ran for Chicago has won the Chicago mayoral election against moderate Paul Vallas. Johnson called for removing law enforcement from society. Okay, that's the exact same thing that Andy No said. Anyway, now, as you know, crime in many cities has surged, and certainly that is the case in Chicago under the last few years under Lori Lightfoot. Indeed, it had. Violent crime had risen steadily. Throughout Lightfoot's tenure, gun violence exploded in 2021, with some neighborhoods seeing over a 100% increase in fatal shootings. The crime wave played a major role in Lightfoot becoming the first Chicago mayor in 4 decades to lose a re-election bid. Brandon Johnson is, but it looks like Chicago will be electing a candidate who is even more radical than Lightfoot to replace her. Brandon Johnson has lied about his position on the failed Democratic Party police, known as defund the police policy, I should say. They just wrote police because they messed up. Hey, Don Julio, nice to see you. Good morning. And because, well, during the campaign, Johnson claimed, I never said defund the police, but he avoided explaining his 2020 comments when he was shown on video during a debate saying that defunding the police is not a slogan, it's an actual real political goal. So I'm going to guess, okay, now he said that in 2020, right? But I'm going to guess that maybe he will change his mind a little bit, because things ain't happening. Good things are not happening in Chicago. Anyway, the incoming mayor also believes that's in structural racism and seeks equity, class, through $800 million more in local taxes to benefit Black and Latino communities and reduce crime. Now, I'm just curious. I'm going to click the link and see what they're referring to here, because there's got to be something. IllinoisPolicy.org. Okay, that's what this is called. Why is this not popping up? How Brandon Johnson plans to impose $800 million in taxes if he's Chicago mayor. Well, that's interesting. Brandon Johnson's mayoral campaign still states his 6 new taxes on the suburbs, airlines, and ultra-rich would generate $800 million, even after he dropped his Metra tax. But the math is fuzzy, especially his claim $800 million can become $2 billion. Now, this is interesting. Let's read this. Now I'm curious. Because I'm curious how he can tax the suburbs. Because the suburbs are not his city. Maybe he means people commute from the suburbs. I don't know, using taxes on transportation or something. I'm just curious. Hello, fake news expert. So, okay, mayoral challenger. This is when he was still a challenger. Now he's going to be the mayor. He got elected. Brandon Johnson introduced his Better Chicago agenda January 23rd, predicting his plan to tax the suburbs, airlines, and ultra-rich, and it would generate $800 million in new revenue to the city. Johnson planned to tax suburbanites $40 million as a city surcharge for commuting to work via Metro. That's their light rail train system. It's a train system. I mean, if you live in Schaumburg, there's trains that go into Chicago, and you can take mass transit to get in rather than getting in traffic. The idea generated a firestorm. His spokesman told CBS Chicago the tax was no longer being considered. So that got dropped. Anyway, so that's $40 million less, but his campaign website still shows he would add $800 million in taxes if he were mayor, based on what he said and the amounts he stated. Johnson's tax increases total $748 million. Hello, JB. How you doing? The Cook County Commissioner and union lobbyists said he would tax $98 million for making the big airlines pay for polluting the air in Chicago neighborhoods. Okay. $400 million from raising the real estate transfer tax on high-end home sales on properties worth more than $1 million over 4 years. Now, how would he raise $400 million? So think about this. Real estate transfer tax on high-end homes sales on properties worth more than $1 million over 4 years. So that would mean, let's say that the taxes on high-end homes, let's say each one of those homes would be, you gain $400 million or $1 million per home. You'd have to sell 400 homes over $1 million and get $1 million. What? That doesn't even make sense. How many $1 million homes do they sell in a year in Chicago to get $400 million in taxes? Because only the houses over $1 million, he says. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of homes in Chicago that are over $1 million, but how are you going to raise $400 million over 4 years? Oh, that's even over 4 years. So $100 million a year in taxes on the sale of high-end homes. Oh boy, that's interesting. Next one, over $20 million from reinstating the $4 a month per employee head tax on large companies that perform at least half their work in Chicago. So they're going to tax companies $4 a month per employee. Per employee! So if you have 1,000 employees, they're going to tax you $1,000 a month just for having employees. Hello, those ain't real, dude. Lord Stanhope. Lord Stanhope was already here. Never mind. And then $100 million from taxing financial transactions at a rate of $1 or $2 for every securities trading contract. And you know the Chicago Securities Exchange is it Chicago that has the Securities Exchange? That's a big trading resource or whatever. $100 million from taxing financial transactions at a rate of $1 to $2 for every securities trading contract. Wow. And then $30 million from increasing Chicago's already nation-leading hotel tax. Wow. I'm sure that's just, okay. In total, the revenue plan put forth by the Chicago Teachers Union's backed candidate falls about $52 million short of the amount he's advertised. Johnson has offered no specifics on how he came up with those figures or what tax rates would need to be to raise that revenue, especially on the high-end homes. So you think that you're going to sell them, I mean, $100 million a year for home sales of over $1 million. I mean, how much is that tax going to be? Because even if it was like, even at 10%, 100,000, you have to sell, 1,000 homes to get over $100 million? That's insane. And no one's, who's going to, oh my God. Who vacations in Chicago? Wait a second. Who vacations in Chicago? Oh, you know what? I've been known to go to Chicago once in a while. Usually I stay with friends though. I know my daughter and my wife went there when my sister graduated from high school. They went to go stay in Chicago, went and saw a show. I mean, people go to Chicago. They travel to Chicago and stay there. And there's a lot of trade events. There's a lot of, especially the summer trade shows and things that happen in the safe. I mean, look, all the stuff in downtown and the safer parts of Chicago, the people go there all the time. There's a lot of great shopping. Miracle Mile's really cool. Lake Michigan's really cool. There's a lot of stuff to do in Chicago. Now, when most people go to Chicago, they tend not to stay, or at least me, I don't stay in Chicago proper, though. I usually stay in one of the suburbs, and if I want to go to the city, we'll drive in or take a train in or whatever. Or sometimes we're just driving through Chicago. We'll stop, like at Lake Michigan and hang out for a while and then keep going. But a day trip isn't a vacation. Well, Chicago's more than a day trip for me. It's Chicago's like 5.5 hours, a 5.5 hour drive. So that's not one of those day trips I do. Although I wouldn't put it past me. I've done a day trip we did one day trip that was 527 miles total in one day. But that's not normal. But anyway, Johnson was similarly vague on how his $800 million plan would produce about $2 billion in revenues and efficiencies for the city. That's something he used as a campaign thing. Based on the efficiencies enumerated in his Better Chicago agenda, city leaders would only save about $430 million. He's saying that he'd save $150 million from cutting top-heavy administration to achieve the nationally recommended 10-to-1 worker to supervisor ratio. The city has more than a 10-to-1 worker to supervisor ratio. Oh my gosh. $20 million from IT costs. somehow, $100 million from using more civilians in place of sworn officers where possible, and eliminating non-sergeant supervisory position like public relations specialists and graphic artists. That's in the Chicago Police Department. $150 million from implementing a comprehensive plan to address healthcare costs. Really? You're going to find a way to save $150 million in healthcare costs? And then $10 million from partnering with Cook County Health and on expanded mental health services. Anyway, he predicted the additional tax revenues would also allow Chicago to freeze property taxes and cancel the automatic escalator, which hikes the property tax annually to match inflation. While Johnson said he doesn't believe raising the taxes will drive business and residents from Chicago, a recent survey found that 34% of all Chicagoans would leave the city if given the opportunity, citing taxes and affordability as their number 2 concern behind crime. So a majority, I gotta say something though. Chicago's still not as bad as San Francisco it's particularly for property crime, but for, violent crime, murders and shit. That they, in fact, their rate is lower because it's a very, very populous city, although numbers are well beyond most cities. Good morning, Select the Boy, and Tex AG, and Dr. Funkenstein's Ghost. Good morning, guys. So anyway, he has this interesting tax plan, and of course he's friendly with Ayanna Pressley, and it's now the Kyle Becker says this could be the final nail in the coffin for the once great city of Chicago. The city of big shoulders has shrugged off the prospect of going the way of failed cities like New York, Portland, Seattle, and San Francisco. So. Uber progressive mayor. Now, let's see. There's another article over here. Here's some of Johnson's views on tolerance for violence and defunding the police. And these are his own words. So, crime continues to be the number one issue in Chicago. Mayoral candidate Paul Vallis has made crime the centerpiece of his campaign and pledges to hire more police, deploy them more strategically, and improve their working conditions. That aligns with nearly 2/3 of Chicagoans who say they don't feel safe. However, his April 4th general election opponent and the new mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, has taken a different tack with a focus on social programs fueled by higher taxes to get at the root causes of crime. But Johnson in recent years has gone further, expressing support for the defund the police movement and sympathy for looters in Chicago, given nearly 80% of Chicagoans have said they want much or more police presence in neighborhoods. A closer look at Johnson's remarks is warranted. Now, he says, I never said defund the police. This week, Johnson's claiming I never said defund the police, but that's not what the record shows. Confronted directly in last week's Chicago mayoral debate, Johnson sidestepped any explanation of his 2020 comments, shown on video during the debate that defunding the police is, quote, not a slogan, it's an actual and real political goal, end quote. Now, those comments by Johnson were one of a series of remarks that were either at odds with maintaining present funding levels for law enforcement or that excused looting. In 2020, as Cook County Commissioner Johnson said, quote, reducing the sheriff budget is a case that I believe that we want. There is no number big enough. That year, speaking at a panel titled, quote, we don't call police, a town hall on a police-free future, end quote. That was the name of the panel. We don't call police, a town hall on a police-free future. John said a part of it is removing ourselves away from this, the state-sponsored policing, but also the tools that have been placed against black folks that have been used violently, whether it's policing or administering standardized tests, or around how white supremacy finds its way in every facet of our lives, that we have to fight and resist that. Yes, the people killing each other in the South Side of Chicago is rooted in white supremacy. Okay, it's almost like they all speak. And I wait, excuse me, be careful. I'm not I suppose I'm a black man, so I can't say when I say they. I'm talking about the progressive nut jobs that they vote in these places. All have kind of the same script, you know. Oh, everything's rooted in white supremacy. Everything. It's just everything, and that's the only possibility, and that's the truth, and that's it, and that's you can't argue with that. Anyway, this as a city reeled from escalating deadly violence and anarchy in the streets in the summer 2020, Johnson said in a WGN interview, also defended looting. And as an outbreak of incredible frustration and anguish, end quote, tied to a quote failed racist system. Okay, because you can't if you don't loot or you loot and break shit because of a failed racist system. Chicago is becoming a national case study in failed leadership during the urban crime crisis that began after George Floyd's death. Not in Chicago, though. He was in Minneapolis. But again, never mind. I'm not going to go into him. 18 people were killed in Chicago in one day on May 31st as rioters, looters, and shooters ran free citywide. The same day, neighborhood business districts were attacked by bands of organized criminals. Some backed up large rented trucks to building targeted for looting. They rented trucks so they can loot places. Or maybe they just borrowed the trucks. Who knows? Others removed and busted open ATMs. And some raided pharmacies for prescription drugs. In July, 105 residents were murdered. Then in August in Chicago, it exploded in rioting, looting once more. Okay, so he defended it. He defended, basically. These were some of the looters whom Johnson excused as acting in frustration and anguish. Defenders of Chicago looters were working from a common script. I just said that. Hi, Genty. When Johnson was asked by a WGN TV interviewer at the time, quote, "Do you worry about stores leaving Chicago and this county because they don't think it's safe?" Johnson bristled at the concern. He replied, "These companies have insurance and assurance." He also said, "You can take a certain level of urgency to protect capital and the wealthy and not have that same tenacity to provide relief for families that have been devastated through structural racism for generations." Again, that's the script. Johnson amplified the point by saying, "We have to redirect dollars away from a failed racist system and move it into the hands of people who are really trying their very best to survive day to day." Where does that money come from, Mr. Johnson? What? We have to move dollars away from fail and move it into the hands of people who are really trying their very best to survive day to day. And if we can't do that as a government, we are failing to meet the. Well, first of all, the government doesn't have any money. Sport. The only money the government has or produces is, well, they don't produce anything. They get it through taxes. They get it through the people. So you're just saying we should take the money from the people and give it to other people and this and that will solve the failed system you're talking about? What up, Cannon Hotep? Anyway, in Johnson's language, people do not deserve punishment for theft. Oh, this sounds like California. Do not deserve punishment for theft because it's a cry for help. It is a view echoed by Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Everyone knows Kim Foxx from the Jussie Smollett case, who raised the threshold for felony theft from $300 to $1,000. As a result, victims and police know most thefts aren't worth reporting. Hence, the arrest rate in Chicago for theft in the last year was 3.6%. That's out of 54,561 reported thefts. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just haven't been in Chicago much lately. I know I was robbed. We were robbed, not robbed. There was theft from our vehicle when we were in San Francisco. I guess I haven't been in Chicago for a while. Of course, like I said, I usually hang out either at a friend's house in the burbs and and rarely go into the city anyway. And then also, this is why the teachers union liked him. At Chicago Public Schools, where Johnson has worked full-time as an organizer for the Chicago Teachers Union. Wait a minute. You work at the Chicago Public Schools, but as an organizer for the Teachers Union. Is that a Chicago Public Schools official post? That's weird. Anti-police and pro-theft sentiments remained embedded on the district's equity class, you know what to do, webpage. There lies the video, quote, "How can we win?" end quote, from activist Kimberly Jones. It's an impassioned rant falsely charging police with routinely killing blacks. The video also advocates looting and burning buildings because blacks cannot achieve material equity any other way. What? Oh my Lord. Oh Lord. These are some dumb people. First of all, there's no such thing as equity. There's no such thing as making everybody equal. But you can take advantage of equality by getting your kids ass to school and tell them to stop and do their homework and do their shit and graduate, and then perhaps either get a job or go to college, and then don't have kids before you can afford it. That's how you achieve anything close to what you consider equity, because there's no such thing as equity. You cannot magically make everyone be the same. But that's the only path, and it's a mindset, and unfortunately, it's not a mindset in many low-income communities. And I don't say black communities because it's low-income communities. It's, well, what can you do for me, and what somebody has more than I do? Rather than, hey, I'm fortunate that I live in a place where I don't have to stay in this squalor. I can always work my way out of it. And I'm not talking, I don't even say the bootstraps thing. That's cliche. You can work your way out of it. But if you're told you cannot enough, you're going to start believing it. And that's the problem, because a lot of people are told they cannot for way too long. There's nothing about, look, a lot of people talk about generational wealth and shit like that. Oh, yeah, see, the white man has generational wealth that black people never have. Not in this century. Okay? And guess what? I guarantee you there's people who have ancestors that have been here forever, that white people, in fact, that there's no advantage to generational wealth, because you can lose it in a heartbeat. My wife's family has been here since before the Revolutionary War. Guess what? None of that so-called generational wealth was ever handed down. My wife grew up way poorer than I did. And in fact, my family that I was adopted in had way more generational wealth than my wife's. But generational wealth can be gone in a single generation. And guess what? If generational wealth were the thing that makes you successful today, every white person in America would be rich. But guess what? They're not. There's a lot of poor white people too. So, but there is certainly a way that you can improve your lot, but it takes a mindset. And unfortunately, in many lower income communities, the mindset turns into, well, what can you do for me? What can someone else do for me? What can I get? What can I take? And that's part of the problem. So anyway, like Jones, in the How Can We Win, the video advocates looting, burning, because blacks cannot achieve material equity any other way. Jones says their only hope and their only opportunity to get some of the things that we flaunt and flash in front of them all the time is to walk through a broken glass window and get it. Yes, because working up your way up the ladder, and again, that's a whole thing. Oh, all the things we flash in front of them. So again, you're saying that because other people have things that you don't have, then you should just take them from someone else instead of find a way to get them in a means that that doesn't hurt other people. Because you hurt other people when you walk through that broken glass and just take it. You hurt somebody, but that's a weird mindset, to be asked me. Now, like Jones, Johnson presumes that blacks are incapacitated by ongoing structural racism. Tell me the structure. I want to know the structure. I want to know the structure because maybe I just never learned that structure and I've been able to ignore it. I don't know. And have no recourse through merit and achievement. Same point. Johnson wants $800 million more in local taxes to help balance the scales for Black and Latino communities and reduce crime. Really? Because are there no poor whites in Chicago? I thought there were some. I can understand if you said for lower class and programs to help people, learn to fish instead of giving them fish. I could understand that. But is it just like you make it sound like Black and Latino communities are all poor? I know the neighborhood Obama's home was in or is in, that is Chicago home, and it's a mostly Black neighborhood, but they're all big ass $1 million, $2 million homes. What about those Black and Latino communities? They always go with this idea that all Black people are poor. We're not. In fact, 70% of Black people are middle class or more. But, oh my God, Black and Latino communities. Oh, and then they say that will reduce crime in those communities too. Really? I don't know. You're encouraging them to steal shit and say that's a legitimate thing. I don't know if that's going to reduce crime, because that is crime. Anyway, is Johnson's bold mayoral candidacy right on time or tone deaf? I would vote for the latter. But he's the mayor now, so let's see what he does in practice. Because Lori Lightfoot's solutions, which, may not be as radical as this person's, really didn't do much for the city of Chicago. And probably just got more people to leave if you implement what he's talking about. So good luck to the city of Chicago. You got rid of one crazy person and you've gained a new one. So good luck to y'all. I'm just saying. All right. What else here? I really haven't. Here's another article on just some of the things that, during the Trump circus, we haven't paid attention to. This is an article in The Federalist by Margot Cleveland. And interesting, 7 news stories the media choked out with the Trump indictment buzz. Thursday's leak. Okay, this is from a while ago, but still, and some of these are old, but you're not hearing a lot about these. This is from it's the stories from yesterday. But Thursday's leak proclaiming a Manhattan grand jury charged former President Donald Trump in a 30-something count criminal indictment, preempted nearly a week of important stories. Here are some of the most important underreported stories from the last 5 days. The House weaponization hearing, which we kind of touched on a little bit. On Thursday, the Select Subcommittee of the Weaponization of the Federal Government held a hearing for testimony related to Missouri versus Biden. That's the case happening in the Louisiana District Court. In that case, Missouri, Louisiana, and others sued the Biden administration and numerous individual defendants for violating the First Amendment through what the plaintiffs called a vast censorship enterprise. At last week's hearing, Senator Eric Schmitt, Republican of Missouri, Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry, and Louisiana Special Assistant Attorney General John D. Sauer testified in detail about that censorship enterprise, providing highlights of evidence uncovered so far in the lawsuit. Now, while the Twitter files' earlier testimony of Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger and previous filings in Missouri versus Biden revealed extensive information about the public-private censorship complex, this testimony provided the House committee with even more troubling information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open all the links to all of these. I'm not going to go through them, but they have They have corresponding articles and links if you want to look up the testimony. And for example, in that case, they got the whole hearing right here on YouTube in this link. So at the end of the show, I will update the link in the description down below, and you can find them all in a single one-tab link. The Chinese spy balloon. So remember the Chinese spy balloon that went across America? Well, apparently that balloon had gathered intelligence from several sensitive American military sites, despite the Biden administration's efforts to block it from doing so, according to NBC. The revelations, based on 2 current U.S. officials and 1 former senior administration official, appear to contradict the Biden administration's earlier claim that the Chinese spy balloon had limited additive value for intelligence collection by the Chinese government. Interesting. So let's see what article, just give you an idea what article they put up for that. Here it is. Chinese spy balloon gathered intelligence from sensitive U.S. sites, military sites, despite U.S. efforts to block it. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. And then also, let's see what else they linked here. Is this the same article or not? Maybe. Okay, that's the same article, so I don't need to do it twice. Also, number 3, border crisis goes global. We talked about this a little bit. A leaked Custom and Border Protection document reveals the Biden administration anticipates further increases in Chinese nationals illegally crossing into the United States from Mexico. What? Wait a minute. How do they get to Mexico? You mean, is this like illegal alien tourism? If you're just, as long as you fly from China to Mexico, you can walk across the U.S. border? How weird is that? As the Daily, let's see, they put the Daily Caller article up here. Yes, they did. As the Daily Caller reported, between October 22nd and February 2023, Border Patrol agents encountered more than 4,200 illegal migrants from China. That must have been quite the swim to be a migrant from China to get to the United States. And that's compared to roughly 1,900 in all of fiscal year 2022, according to Border Patrol data. So let's see, looks like the same article. And I'll link the Border Patrol data too. Number 4, OPEC oil cuts. What? The OPEC Saudi-led oil cartel's decision on Sunday to cut oil production quickly bumped oil prices up about $5 a barrel. With inflation already high, the increase in energy prices is yet another blow to America's beleaguered middle class, but the story should reverberate all the way to the Oval Office, given that President Biden's anti-oil policies and foreign policy missteps gave OPEC power to push the price of oil higher. Now, one thing that Biden did that he's getting a lot of crap for is he opened up he allowed the permits for those new wells in Alaska to go forward. So yeah, maybe that helps a little bit. Certainly, I think they're going to be pumping out like 280,000 barrels. I don't know what the time period is, but 280,000 barrels of oil from that project. So that's good. Number 5, the dumping the U.S. dollar. No, look, we touched on these stories all briefly. We'll just let's see. These are the same two. There's 2 articles here. The India Ministry of External Affairs announced on Saturday a move away from the U.S. dollar, with the country agreeing with Malaysia to create a special rupee vostro account to allow the settlement of international trade in Indian rupees. The move away from the U.S. dollar reportedly came to safeguard Indian trade from the impact of the Ukraine crisis. Another country, because remember, Russia and China are also having deals to move away from the dollar in trading oil. So the more these countries move away from oil, the weaker the dollar probably will become, which is not good for you and me. Okay, just saying. We're going to be ready to gird your loins. And then last week, on Wednesday, also saw China and Brazil finalize an agreement to ditch the U.S. dollar to instead deal directly in their own currencies, exchanging yuan for reais, which are the 2 currencies, or vice versa, rather than first converting their currencies to the U.S. dollar, as Fox Business reported. So that is not good for the U.S. Number 6, Russia's arrest of an American journalist. Now, this, I didn't hear about this. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this? I didn't hear about this. Russia's arrest of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich also deserves more attention because his detention, the first of an American journalist since the end of the Cold War, represents a new heightening of tensions between the United States and Russia. Gershkovich's detention by Russia shortly after our country arrested Russian national and accused spy Sergei Vladimirovich Cherkaskovskis or something like that, also serves as a reminder of the weak deal the Biden administration cut with Vladimir Putin when it released Russian arms dealer Victor Bout in exchange for American basketball player Brittany Griner, which was that was the greatest diplomatic deal ever. What are you talking about, Margot? Coffee's cold. And then also number 7, the murder of a Russian blogger. The Sunday evening murder of Vladimir Tartarsky, a Russian military blogger at a cafe in St. Petersburg, is another story given short shift because of the Trump indictment. While the Russians are blaming Ukraine for Tartarsky's murder, a Ukrainian presidential advisor called the bombing an internal political fight, claiming Tartarsky was killed because he had criticized aspects of the Russian military operation in Ukraine. The competing narratives aptly demonstrate the danger posed by the government's move to brand news and disinformation and misinformation. That sounds familiar. When our leaders deem it necessary to further some perceived American interest. If the government and big tech censors lies about COVID to prevent vaccine hesitancy, why wouldn't they also lie about who's responsible for a murder to ensure continued support of Ukraine? In the days, weeks, and months ahead, the Get Trump circus will continue to dominate the news. Let's just hope that by the time Democrats call it quits, we still have a country left. That's a little harsh, isn't it there? All right, let's see what I'm missing here in the chat. P-Dog, you need to look up the story about Roy Moore by Michael Schellenberger. Apparently the Dems used fake Twitter accounts pretending to be Russian to win the Dems the election. Oh, no, I know all about that. We've talked about that on the show. Did he follow it? No, there was a bombing. He didn't follow it. There was a bombing in, here it is. Here's the BBC article. Vlad Tartarsky, investigated as a murder. Here, let's get rid of the pop-up here. Let's see. Tartarsky, a vocal supporter of Russia's war in Ukraine, died in an explosion at a St. Petersburg cafe Sunday evening. 24 others were taken to the hospital, and 6 were in critical condition. The health ministry said. Videos posted on social media showed a blast and injured people on the street. It was not immediately clear who was responsible for the attack, but Ukrainian presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolak blamed the blast on Russian internal political fight, tweeting, "Spiders are eating each other in a jar." That's an interesting phrase. Interior Ministry officials said police were called to the street food bar number 1 near the Neva River at 6:13 p.m. local time. Russia's investigative committee, the country's top criminal investigation agency, has opened an investigation into what it described as a high-profile murder. Criminologists have been sent to the scene, it added on Telegram. Let's see. He was a guest speaker at an event hosted by the cafe when the bomb went off. There are conflicting reports in Russian media about the explosive device. According to official sources quoted by Russian state media, Tartarsky was presented with a statue in a box as a gift, which had the bomb inside. Oh gosh. I wonder if the guy ran away after he gave him the box because he knew there's a bomb in it. Anyway, so that's there's more about that in the article, but very interesting. No, Russia only defenestrates nowadays. Oh, yeah, there you go. They arrested some woman for it. I did not know that. Do you know Gennady Tartakovsky? No, not Dexter's Lab. No, not Dexter's Lab. All right. guys, I'm going to call it quits today because oh, wait. Is that, let me check something here. There was one article that I had that I wanted to, oh, you know what? I'm going to save that one. But just a reminder that the walls are closing in and, that, crappy 34 count felony count indictment is still in the books, and they won't be talking about that until December, but we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's so much ahead, but I don't have time for it. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you tomorrow. I appreciate you all being patient with me today. I don't know what happened on Rumble. I can't see. Wait, did this thing close? Are we still going? We're still going, right? That is so weird. So now, please use keyframe frequency for 4 seconds or less. Keyframes are not being sent often enough. Okay, you all can see me just fine, right? Anyway, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to see if I can figure out what the hell's wrong with Streamlabs, and hopefully we'll be completely fixed by tomorrow and running in everything else on Rumble, and everything else will be hunky-dory. So thanks, everybody, for joining me today. I got to go. My name's P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Hey, this is P-Dog Knight, and thank you for watching today on the P-Dog Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.